Hi interns, and welcome to day 7 of our Project Search, a teen's guide to finding a job series. I hope you all are doing well, and we just wrapped up applications in our last chapter, and today for day 7 we're going to get into resumes. So we are in this video going to start here. We're going to be beginning chapter 4, reading pages 75 to 86 here. And we're going to begin making a list of references to use on our references worksheet, and then also completing our employability skill log. So we already have completed and updated, I don't want to say completed, but we've updated our resumes, because remember, you never really complete your resume. Your resume is something that's always going to be added to and updated as you gain job experience and different activities and stuff like that, different skills. So we have updated resumes, check. And what'll be good is if you have your resume in front of you as we read this chapter to kind of explain to you the different order and why we put different skills on your resume, that'll be helpful. So we already have a resume. Then this chapter is also going to talk about a cover letter. Well, we've done that as well. That's in your Google Drive. Remember, it's your initials and then cover letter. So we've already done both of those. What we haven't done is a list of references. And I talked about references, and we've touched on this a little bit in our last chapter with the job applications. But references are people, adults, who can talk about your hard work and have seen you and your skills be put in action. So we're going to think about our references today and try to at least brainstorm at least 3 to 5 references that we can have, that we can always call on and provide to potential employers so they can verify those skills and different work experiences that we've had. So that's what we're going to focus on as we read our chapter 4. So if you want to go ahead and grab out your A Teen's Guide to Finding a Job book and turn to page 75 here. Chapter 4, resumes. Here we have Candace is our character for this chapter. So Candace already has some things here written down that she's showing us. When preparing to write my resume, I must, so some things you have to do here when preparing to write your resume. 1, identify the job I'm writing the resume for. Have a mindset to self-promote myself, just like you did in that commercial, talking good about yourself. Be familiar with industry jargon. That means different titles of jobs, and be familiar with the company that you're applying to. Think in an organized and logical manner. Focus on my professional self, not personal self. Write a cover letter to accompany my resume, and write a reference sheet to have available, and use a computer. So here we go on page 76, Candace. Excuse me, I have a chair. Okay, so Candace is an 18-year-old attending a non-traditional alternative program to get her high school diploma equivalency. Previously, life circumstances has caused her to drop out of school. This non-traditional program has given her another chance to make things right for herself. Candace has come to understand that if it is to be, it is up to me. She must redirect her energy to become a responsible, productive adult and be as self-sufficient as she can. Candace completed life skills courses and is preparing to write her first resume. She has logistically thought through the process and identified the most important aspects of the resume writing process. After selecting the resume format that best presented her skill set to employers, she tailored the resume to meet specific employers' needs. The employer was impressed with her resume and asked Candace to come back for an interview. Yay, that's what we want. We want to hear the I word, interview. So, not only the application, but your resume is going to help you get to that goal of the interview. So, Candace here, we're kind of in a similar situation. We have a high school, all of us in the program, we have a high school equivalent with a district credential, and we have had a very unique experience in the Project Search program. So that is something that is highlighted on our resumes because of that, because that looks really good to future employers. So a lot of this is going to be information that you've heard before, because we already have done our resume unit in the training room. However, this is going to talk about different resume formats, 3 specific ones, and I'll explain those as we go through those. So, in our overview on page 76, what is a resume? So, a resume is a summary about you. Basically, a one-page what you've done and accomplished. You will write a resume to summarize your high school courses, grades, academic and community honors, extracurricular stuff you do outside of school, and sports activities, paid or unpaid work experience, and more. This summary, alongside with your soft skills, will help you present yourself favorably to an employer. Soft skills, we've heard that word before. What are soft skills? So soft skills are talents and personal attributes not acquired through formal training. Such attributes as being a good listener, having a positive attitude, showing integrity, that means honesty, doing what you say you're going to do, and working well with others, so teamwork. Give anyone the ability to perform well in a job or career. So we work a lot on these soft skills through communication, through having that positive attitude, through completing our work that we say we're going to do. So that's really, really important when it comes to getting a job with employers, because those are good attributes that employers want from employees. So those are, soft skills aren't really anything that you learn in a book. They're what we're learning socially. So saying please and thank you, opening doors for others, those are soft skills. And think of like social skills a little bit as well. Those are very important. So on page 77, the resume and employment application have similar purposes to apply for employment. At the beginning of your career journey, most employers require an employment application. But as you advance, having a resume will be preferred. You should prepare a resume before you begin looking for work. Check. The resume you will make completing an application much easier since your information will already be organized and well thought out. Told ya. See, that's why I asked you to have those resumes out when filling out those applications these last few days. Makes things a lot easier to have all that information. You'll be able to update it and have it readily available. So our resumes, and parents, this is good information for you guys if you don't know. Our resumes are on our Google Drives and our personal Google emails. If you don't know that, if an intern doesn't know what their password is, I have those. I can give those to you and the email address. So it's on that Google Drive so we can go back to it and update it as we gain those experiences as well. So continuing here, third paragraph on 77. The best way to write a resume is to write it in a manner that represents you well. If you feel comfortable with the resume you create, then you will feel confident in your job search. The most creative aspect of resume writing is selecting the proper format. The format depends on your targeted audience and manner in which you want to present yourself. The 3 basic types of resume formats are chronological, functional, and combination. Each has unique features and when used appropriately will serve to complement your professionalism, work experience, abilities, skills, and interests. In short, your resume is your marketing tool to catch an employer's attention. So you guys have all written excellent resumes. They look very professional. I would say our resumes fall into more of the functional category, more so, but there are chronological aspects as well. If you notice on your resumes, we took all those experiences, the one that you had most recently is up at the top, and then it gets into older experiences as you go down. That's typically the format of everyone's resume. And then as you update your experiences, you can oh, well, maybe this experience can be taken away. It was so long ago, and it was only like a month long. So then you can take that out and put that other experience above it and just highlight that in that chronological order. So we're going to continue here talking about these 3 resume formats. Here's an introduction. Hold on one second. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Okay. Sorry. Resume formats. Here's an introduction to the 3 resume formats. Later in this chapter, you'll see more detailed information and samples of each format. Receiving this information early in your career journey will enable you to select the appropriate one as you advance. So here's the chronological resume. A chronological resume begins by listing your work history in reverse chronological order, with the most recent position listed first. This style works well for job seekers with a strong and solid work history. Next, on page 78, is our functional resume. A functional resume, and this is the one I think ours is most like. A functional resume focuses on your skills and vast experience rather than your chronological work history and the company you performed work for. It places more importance on your skills and achievements than your work experience. It is most used by job seekers who have limited work experience but have education and related experience gained through other avenues other than paid employment, which relates to most of us. And then we have here the third style, which is called a combination resume. A combination resume lists your skills and experience first. Your employment history is listed in reverse chronological order. This format combines parts of both the chronological and functional format. With this type of resume, you can highlight skills relevant to the job you're applying for and list your work history. It is best used for job seekers who have good skills and may be transitioning into a different job or career field. Can you select the format that will work best for you? Keep in mind that the right format will increase your chances of getting face-to-face interviews. For most teams, the functional format will serve you best because it allows the use of experiences from all areas of your life. It will enable you to showcase noteworthy skills acquired through school projects, leadership roles, along with your natural abilities and talents. So again, like I said, ours is most like that functional. Right at the top of ours, we have our personal information on our resume, but then right under it, we have those listed skills that you and I both agreed on was something that you really show in your work performance. So, and then we also have, some of us don't have that paid employment history, but we do have that accessibility. We do have that voc rehab. We do have those school-based jobs that we weren't paid for, but that still gave us that great work experience. So that's why we listed all that there. So the use of functional categories at the bottom of page 78 here. The use of functional categories to creatively describe your experiences and skills will present you more favorably to employers. They can easily see you have the requirements they are looking for. You're probably asking, what are the categories for functional resumes? Good question. There are categories that group activities or function you have performed or learned. You can creatively show the variety of skills, talents, and knowledge you have by grouping them in categories such as, and it has an example here on page 79 about different skills and knowledge that you have here. So, we can talk about communication skills if you have any specific computer skills. We all talked about our education on there, organizations, and some of us have even volunteer experience. So those are all great categories to add to a resume. All right, moving on here on page 79, I just want to make sure I'm staying on. Yes, I'm going to page 86. Okay. Sorry, just had to remind myself. All right, on 79, what job do you want? Before you can start writing the resume, determine which jobs you both qualify for and care about. In today's job market, it is crucial, that means very important, to be specific. That means to write out exactly what job you want. If you're not sure about what type of work you're interested in, review the results of your self-assessment. If you didn't take any self-assessment tests, think deeply about your likes and dislikes. So all of us have been able to agree on an objective for our resumes. It's right at the top. I am seeking part-time or full-time employment as blank, and you filled that out and what job that we know you're qualified for and that you want. So if some of you have like two jobs that you'd be open to and would take and want. So what I recommend you guys doing there, instead of saying my objective is to either be this or this, you don't really want to do that with an employer. An employer wants to see that you want that job that they're offering, not that you want somebody else's job. So what I recommend you do is make a copy of your resume and change that objective to match whatever job you're applying for. Remember, these are on the computer. We can easily change them. Again, if you need laptop access, let me know to do that. But that's the reason we have those electronically, so we can change that objective. So, you might be interested in being a custodian. So I'm seeking part-time employment as a custodian. However, you might also be open to a job as a dishwasher. So then you can make a copy of your whole resume and just go back into that objective and change, I am seeking part-time employment as a dishwasher. That's okay. That's keeping your options open, and that's totally okay. But when you do give a resume to an employer, they want to see that you want the job that they're offering you, not a job someone else is offering, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So just change that up. Don't put two objectives on one resume. Just make a copy of the resume and change that objective. All right. So here, second paragraph under what job do you want? Your goal is to list the skills you enjoy using and match them to jobs that require those. Review the Dictionary of Occupational Titles and Occupational Outlook Handbook, the website of targeted industries, help wanted ads, information you gathered at career fairs, and advice received from your networking contacts to help you. Reviewing occupational titles and help wanted ads will actually spark you to consider other job options you may not have thought of. I think we've all pretty much settled on where we want to go, but if, I know the job is changing, job market is continually changing. So if you, go back to those list of jobs that we've talked about, then, maybe you could find that, oh, well, I'm willing to broaden, my options there. So thinking about that. Thinking like a progressive and proactive person, do not limit your possibilities. It's really hard when we're like, nope, I'm only going to do this. I'm only going to do this. Maybe think, well, I could see myself doing this as well, and just have those other options too. You want to start gaining work experience and exposure to new varied environments. Regard jobs in your early years as building blocks of your ultimate life, work, and career. Then, after identifying the type of work you want to do, select the resume format that will best introduce you to employers. So your resume is a reflection of you. The resume is your promotional piece. Use it as your calling card for introducing your unique skills and experiences. Accompanied by a cover letter, its purpose is to get you an interview. However, resume writing is not an exact science, so use these suggestions and examples as general guidelines, not a blueprint. So these are all suggestions. It's not like we're going to read this book and Ms. Carr's going to ask you to go back and change your whole resume. Nope, we're good. We did well with that resume. We're just reading for more tips and information. Lost my place. Okay, as a general rule, when writing a resume, include activities that relate to the job you're applying for and those that demonstrate your ability to do the job. Remember, writing your resume requires creative thinking and self-examination, which was a long process that we went through. So getting started. Start by listing your high school courses, grades, academic and community honors, extracurricular sports activities, paid and unpaid work experience, and unique skills. You can build on this information by getting opinions from others about your qualities. So we did this. Remember, I printed out a list of your transcripts from high schools. We were able to look through and glean through all those years we spent in high school, and we took out all those classes that, would look good on us. So, we can go back and look at those things if that needs to be added to your resumes, but it was a large part of our process when making these resumes. So you can ask questions such as, what do others like best about me? What qualities do family members, teachers, and friends mention when they talk about me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my areas of need? Do I function best as a team or independently? What do others see as my biggest accomplishments? What are my unique talents, skills, and abilities? At this point in the process, don't leave anything out. Write down whatever comes to mind. This is called brainstorming. We did a lot of that. And the items you list are referred to as your career profile. For accuracy, take time to review certificates, awards, report cards, position descriptions, school transcripts, and any other documents. They have valuable information about your background, including dates, grades, titles, and names. Then list them in order of importance and dates. The process of organizing information will help you decide where to place the items in your resume. So again, we did a lot of this background work of collecting your transcripts, I reached out to a lot of parents to get their input on your job experience. I reached out to our VR accessibility, and we got information on all those workshops and work you did there. So we did a lot of this work, thank goodness. So we don't have to go through that again, but it's just so important that you know where to find these resumes and how to access them, because we did a lot of work on them. So again, please make sure you know how to access that email. And if you can't find your resume, I have a copy. As long as I have a Google Drive, I will always have a copy. So you can always reach out to me for a copy of that. So writing your resume. Once your career profile is compiled and completed, you're ready to begin writing your resume. So we did a lot of that with our resume worksheet. We brainstormed. Ms. Carr kept asking me for all these dates that I didn't know. And so we compiled all that, and then we started writing our resume on the computers. So we didn't pull out the computers the first day on this, if you guys remember. What we did was we referred to the action verbs and power words in Chapter 3 to describe your experiences and communication skills. Next, let's examine various headings you can put on your resume and the type of information to be included under each. So remember, we kept putting on our resume, I did this. Well, awesome. That is typically how you would start a sentence when writing. However, with resumes, it's a little different. You begin with the verb. The verbs such as completed, collected, assembled. And you take out that I, and you don't use those isolated I's in those resumes. So that's what we did. We did a lot of that with finding our verbs there. And again, Chapter 3 has some really good examples as well. If you're going back in the future and updating your resume, you may want to look at this book and look at the Chapter 3 words for that when you're updating your resume in the future. On page 81 here, highlights of qualification. You may wish to use this heading, highlights of qualification, near the top of the page to get the reader's attention. This heading is used when sharing personal and professional traits you believe will help you stand out as the best candidate. It includes items such as language proficiency, special training, awards, and security clearances. Note, security clearances are required for many government jobs. So, normally 3 to 5 short statements are listed. The information in the body of your resume must support these statements. First, list the most important responsibilities, which are things directly related to the job you're applying for. This is a strategy that may give you a competitive edge. So we did this when we listed our project search experience right up at the top with internships. That's at the very beginning of all your resumes, right under your skills and objective, letting them know you completed, however many hours in training in this role and also in this role. So that, again, is a really good eye catcher for employers and candidates. So moving on to page 82 here. Example, if you're fluent in any languages, different point of sales for customer service and sales, strong customer service, communication skills, recipient of Team Star Award, I don't really know what that is, able to persuade and influence people to take action. So those are just some examples there. Of course, we have our project search experience where we've listed the training hours, the things that we did. You guys did such a great job, listing all the jobs you've completed in each of your rotations. And we cleaned that up a little bit and added some of those action verbs. So that is definitely a strong area in everyone's resume. So moving on here to personal heading. This is typical. You want to have your information at the top of the resume because you want them to know your name. Remember your name. That's why it's nice and big on our resumes. Then also you want to give them your phone number, email address, and that personal information because that's how they're going to contact you. So you want to make sure that phone number and the email address, you're checking that after you give someone your resume because that is how they would contact you through there. So let's talk about that personal heading. This heading is located at the top of the page and should include your complete formal name, first and last name, address, telephone number, and email address. Avoid nicknames and be sure your email address is professional. List only one telephone number and address to conserve space. Make sure your name stands out by using bold letters or larger font size. Check. Next is the career objective. Although including your career objective is optional, it's highly recommended because it tells the employer immediately what you're looking for. Most resumes have an objective, so I would always strongly encourage you to have a written one-sentence objective. Make your career objective statement employer-centered, clear, and concise. Just one sentence, not a whole paragraph. If you know the exact job title used by the employer, you can list it as your career objective, focusing on aligning your career objective with the employer's requirements. So again, we can just go right back in the computer and change whatever job. If it's asking for a sales assistant, boom, type in sales assistant. If it's asking for a grocery clerk, boom, put that exact job that they're posting for on your resume. Remember, employers are interested in what you can do for them, not what they can do for you. Ooh. Sad but true. Examples of employer-centered career objectives are, so a cashier position. You use the job title listed on the job announcement. Okay. Cashier position requiring sales, customer service, and accounts payable receivable skills. You read the job announcement and saw that employer needs a cashier. So basically you're doing your research on what job is being asked for, and you're listing that you have those skills. Now remember, you need to have those skills because if you get hired and don't, that'll be quickly found out. Position for a cashier for my general shopping center. You know you want a cashier position at my general shopping center, and that my general shopping center has a cashier opening. So you can even, if you want to add another touch or nod to the company or employer, you can put in that name. You can put in, I'm looking for a position as a custodian at the Embassy Suites Hotel. Okay, great. That's really, they're going to take note of that you're really interested in working for that company. But you can keep it general, and you can say, I'm just looking for a position working as a guest service attendant at a hotel. And that's fine too. All right, so that's personal heading and career objective. Let's move on here to work experience at the bottom of page 83. This heading can be titled as your work experience, employment information, or summary of relevant skills and experience. The one you choose depends on your preference and particular situation. Usually the work experience comes next on your resume. However, at times you may want to list your education before your work experience. Some employers value education equal to or more important than work experience. As a teen, your education will most likely be your prominent work experience, but not for us because we have so many great experiences with work. So with ours, we have those skills, we have that objective, we have that personal heading. So it varies now on everyone's resumes from here on because some of us do have that work experience. Work experience is typically going to be paid experience, work that you were paid and given money to do. If you don't have that, that's okay. We have job training as a heading. We all had that through VR and accessibility. And then we also have volunteer experience. Some of us did some volunteer work, whether that was through your church or whether that was Habitat for Humanity or Feed a Friend. That's also something we put on there. So if you don't have work experience, that's okay. You definitely have some other experience, other titles that look good and show your career skills. Moving on to 84, training. This is optional, but again, for us, we've all had job training, so we all put that on there. However, if you've completed a type of formal training directly related to the position you're applying for, then include it on your resume. List the most training first. So all of us should have that job training with VR and accessibility on those resumes. Then our education. This category is particularly important if you're expecting your experience to qualify you for the job. So things like a grade point average and courses, if that's necessary to a job, then you would highlight that. We put our education down at the bottom, but with our district credential and then also our project search certificate of completion down at the bottom. So that's where our education is listed on our resumes. If you are doing the education, then list the specific courses and make sure they're related to the job or industry you're applying for. So if you took computer classes, make sure that applies to you using a computer in your job that you're applying for. Because if it doesn't, then it's just kind of like, okay, well, great, you know how to use a computer, but do you know how to clean a bathroom? That doesn't really that's not as important in that scenario. You know, if you're applying for a job in landscaping, then hey, definitely put that horticulture class that you took. That's very important. So again, we can just really tailor our resumes like we have them, make copies of them, and really change them up for the specific job that we are applying for. I'm going to move down here to page 85, work history. Not that I'm not super important, not that I don't think the GPA and courses are super important, but you know, there's some educational requirements some jobs are going to have, which could include a college degree. So, you know, I know some of us are interested in going and trying it and completing certificate degrees, and that's great. I encourage you to do all that. But right now, these GPA and courses isn't really our track right here through the occupational credential. So, if it's okay with you guys, well, it's got to be, because I'm the only one here. Page 85, work history at the bottom is where I'm going to continue. I am talking to myself at this point. Under this heading includes start and ending dates, position title, and the employer's name and location for each job held. List your current or most recent job first and work backwards from there. An example of how to list your history work follows. So here's an example on the top of page 86, where we are going to end for the day, just making sure. But so, you know, it has right here January 2013 to present, and then you can see how those years get later and later. So that's how we have ours listed on our resumes as well. You should have and double check that, because I mean, there was a lot of times where I was going through 7 resumes at one time. So make sure and check me. Make sure that you have your most recent to then your later. Now, typically I would recommend to only have high school experiences listed on your resume. However, if you did do something in middle school that was just really spectacular, that relates to the career you're applying for, I understand, but typically you would only go back through your high school experiences there. So let's go into optional headings as well. The next categories are optional headings you could use to make your resume more appealing. So we did. Some of us use extracurricular activities because some of you do some really amazing things with different organizations, and that again shows that team player skill you have. So extracurricular activities. List the various activities you've participated in to show many facets of acquired and soft skills you have attained. List successes in extracurricular activities that demonstrate your abilities. So some of us didn't have this. That's okay. We made up for it in other areas. But some of us did have these extracurricular activities, and those will always look good to your employer. Skills, we added this up at the top, and this was a fun, if parents are watching, this was a fun way that we landed on these skills. We highlighted a lot of characteristics, and then we, saw if the adults agree with these skills, and then we chose, the interns did choose those 8 that we agreed on, but, it did take a little process to get to those skills and a lot of self-reflection. So, we've listed those skills right up at the top. Honors and awards, if you've ever, won an award, that's a great thing to add to your resume as well. List the honors and awards that present a fuller picture of your strengths, provide titles and dates one of your awards. So that's just another area. Now, if you're thinking, hey, Ms. Carr, as we read this chapter, I'm realizing I can add some more things to my resume. Awesome. That's great. That's why we're, going through this process and reflecting on those resumes. So if you do, awesome. If you need help with that, my office hours, 10 to 11. Feel free to reach out. And we can definitely add to those and update those resumes as we continue brainstorming and having experiences that relate to the occupation we want. So we're going to pause there on page 86, and I'm going to get into explaining what our next activity is our next project is going to be here. So we went from job application, so you should have 2 completed job applications if you've been following along with the videos. Maybe you even have 3 and did your GameStop one too. That's great. Like I said, kudos to you. That's going above and beyond. 2 thumbs up for that if you did that. But we are going to move into a project here with our references. Because again, remember, we've already done our resumes, we've already done our cover letter. All that's on your Google Drive. But now, what we were moving into and didn't get a chance to complete is our list of references. So, list of references, this is the activity I put in your packet, so you guys can pull that out and pause if you need time to get that. And I'm going to go over the directions here of what I want you guys to do. This is going to be day 7 and day 8 that we're going to be working on this activity. I don't know why this makes YouTube makes my nose itch. All right, so this list of references I want us to work on. The directions are to complete the information for each possible reference. Remember, when I say reference, that is a person we're talking about. That is not a family member or friend. When we talked about references before, some of you guys were like, oh, well, Brandon will be my reference or Kim will be my reference. It's like, okay, I love that you guys do work together. And yes, that person has seen you work. But our interns, each other, you guys can't be each other's references. It was a great idea because you guys really have done a lot of good teamwork around the hotel. But references need to be an adult, and you guys are adults as well, but it needs to be an adult who's already established in a career, who already has a career. So instead of one of your classmates, it would be your teacher, your instructor, me. It would be Miss Tiffany Curry. Those would be appropriate references for your job experience for the Embassy Suites Hotel. So think about that. They should be the following. A reference should be the following. These are just guidelines I typically come up with because just working with young adults for many years, knowing kind of the suggestions we get. So just remember, the reference should be an adult. So again, just not a friend who's also in the same position you are in finding a job. This person needs to be somebody who already has a job, a career that they've been in for some time and be established. So it has to be an adult. Someone who has seen you work, or there's also personal references, someone who can talk about those soft skills that you have and the strengths you have in that area. So someone who has seen you work, but also seen you in those activities. It could be a coach as well. So I wanted to add that there. Also, someone who has witnessed your work or participation in the community. These can all include a teacher, VR counselor, and more. So I have 5 different slots here because I would love for us to all try to have 5 references, and those can be personal or professional. And if my minimum, I at least want 3. Okay, so we're looking for 3 to 5. Okay, so first, I'll go ahead and give you mine. So my name. So what I want you to work on today is brainstorming. I'm giving you your first reference here, Paula Carr. All right, you guys all know my phone number, so look that up. You guys all know my email address, Charleston County School District. And what's that asking for? Oh, what is your relationship? Teacher, and how many years you've known me. So you can go ahead and complete that. Boom, there's your first reference right there. This guy. So the next 4 are for you to brainstorm. Again, I've given you some suggestions. Your job coach, Miss Curry, Tiffany Curry. Also think who is your VR counselor. And then think about those other people in the community, maybe a teacher in high school, maybe a coach in high school. Think about those people. And if there's, again, anyone in your community, church, or any affiliation there, that also an adult that can speak to any work you do outside of school or the hotel. So think about that. You guys might also be thinking about, and this would be a good question, what about the people at the hotel? That's a great question. If you want to include a person or manager or supervisor, it would need to be a manager or supervisor at the hotel, then you can list their name as well. So really what I would like to see from interns today, I'm not going to throw this all at you at once. So just for today, focus on who could be my 5 references, and just fill out those name portions, okay, for today. And then what we're going to do is, if you know that contact information, see, mine you can go ahead and fill out. Sorry, my screen went blank. Mine you can go ahead and fill out, but maybe you're like, well, I don't remember Miss Tiffany's number, email address, and all this stuff. That's okay. I'm going to be reaching out to VR, and I'll be emailing that information to you guys privately, so it's not on YouTube. But just for right now, get those names of people, as many as you can, up to 5. And then we'll work on contacting them and getting that contact information and then contacting them. So before you use somebody as a reference, it's professional and it's typical for you to reach out to them and call them, say, hi, Ms. Carr, yes, so this is so-and-so. Would you mind if I used you as a reference when I'm applying for jobs? And that person will, if this is a trusted adult that you've worked with and that has seen you work, most likely they'll be like, absolutely, yes. And, give you any contact information you need from them, email address, phone number, they can easily reach you on. Now remember, they might give you the phone number to their work, so go ahead and kind of know, or is this their personal number or is this their work number that they're giving me here? So I'm going to help you get that information from some of these references that you guys are listing on this on this activity. So I'm going to give you information for your VR people and through email tomorrow. And then, of course, reach out to me if there's anyone else you would like contact information for. So we're going to work on this today and tomorrow. So please, again, reach out to me with any questions that you have. And we'll finish up Chapter 4 tomorrow, along with our list of references. And then, again, please don't forget to keep going and doing that employability skill development log as well. I know some of you guys have been letting me know, oh, I vacuumed this room today. Oh, I dusted this today. That's great. Keep going and keep doing that. Really proud of you guys for helping out and continuing to use those skills that we've learned. So I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, a great night, and I will see you next time for day 8. It's going to be great.